It only takes 3 generations for an idea to be lost. That's not very long. That is not very long at all. My grandfather and the Apostle Paul both shared the same means of transportation, a fast horse. It was the fastest means of transportation available to them as young men. That hardly seems practical anymore. Yet for almost 2 millennia, that was the fastest option available. So if you were going to travel from one place to another, you needed to know how to put a bridle and a saddle on a horse. If we couldn't go home tonight unless we knew how to put a bridle and a saddle on the horse, there'd be a lot of folks sleeping in the parking lot at church. And this is Tennessee. It's a skill set that slips away pretty quickly. It only takes 3 generations, folks. Let's not lament that. Let's be determined to shape the next generation with the faith that we have. You know, we are living through a tragedy in our nation. Charlie Kirk was assassinated not long ago. A Christian martyr in America in 2025. That's very difficult to process. Charlie was guilty of taking a biblical worldview onto college campuses. He would sit and have an open dialogue with college students about a biblical worldview. He wasn't a pastor, he wasn't a minister, he didn't hold a political office. He was a citizen that went to college campuses and had a dialogue with college students in a place where the free exchange of ideas has been understood historically to be the lingua franca of that environment. You're supposed to be able to be on a college campus and have dissenting opinions. And Charlie did that. And for that, he was frequently hated, often vilified, quite often lied about, labeled in the most heinous ways. But what we have observed is that his life had a tremendous impact on countless thousands of young people. That they heard the truth that Charlie shared, and they were moved by it. They realigned their lives. I meet frequently with groups of pastors. I was with a group not long ago, and they were, for the most part, mocking Charlie Kirk. And I sat there with the temperature rising. And someone turned finally and said, I thought was Charlie your friend? And I said, he was. And they asked me what I thought, and I said, well, I think Charlie went on the college campuses and told the students what you aren't willing to tell them in your churches. He had discussions that too many of us have hidden from. We were afraid they'd be awkward or uncomfortable, or we wouldn't know how to answer, or we would be labeled with some hateful label. And if there's anything at this point that seems abundantly clear, there are tens of thousands of young people with tremendous gratitude that Charlie Kirk was willing to speak the truth to them. So I want to submit to you that you and I can lead this next generation with our faith. Not dramatical stuff, not subtle theological nuance, when to take communion and how often, which translation of the Bible is better, which part of the Bible was written in Greek or Aramaic or Hebrew. I'm okay with those discussions, but that's not the heart of what needs to be said. We have to have the courage and come back and say there's a biblical definition of marriage, that there's a biblical view of sexual morality and sexual immorality in Scripture, that the Bible endorses the sanctity of human life, that babies aren't just blobs of cells, that they deserve our respect and our voices on their behalf because they can't yet speak for themselves. That there are 2 biological sexes, that God really did create us male and female, and that isn't confusing. We've been afraid of the conversations. We've been too reluctant. Again, we're not doing it in anger or belligerence, but we have allowed our universities to become intolerant indoctrination centers. That's on our watch. It's not acceptable. We will lead the next generation with faith. And I'm done with places that put Christian on their signs at the university level and below even. And they become intolerant. They may have an occasional chapel service and assuage their conscience by saying they're better than the alternatives, but if the sign says Christian, you better own a biblical worldview or it's false. It's not something that we have an opinion about. We are submitted to the lordship of Jesus. He's changing us. Folks, we're all broken people. We've all led imperfect lives. We've all got fractured stories. But our God is a redeemer. And it's the hope we hold out to the generations who follow us. Let's be determined to lead this generation with faith.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel. You know the drill. Hit the bell for notifications. If you want to, leave a comment.